Good afternoon from Chicago and good evening and good morning. I hope you can hear well. How is the sound?
Perfect, Sister Sarah.
Okay, great. So lovely to have this opportunity to meet and see the family, and just visiting here for a few days. And I understand Brother Shaylin was here recently, so Mary had this idea that we could make a connection. So I see Mary in camera. She's just organizing the tech at that side. Om Shanti. Hello. You're currently muted, but we can see you. And so we're going to be having a discussion today with Brother Shaylin, and Brother Prashant is also in Chicago Center. And inspired by the Murli of Sunday, I'm going to read one sentence and then we'll kick off with some reflections and discussions. So it's like a family meeting sharing. But this sentence came in the first paragraph. Only by having yoga can you experience cooperation. And because the powerful and equal children are constantly yogyuked, they are easily able to become victorious by experiencing cooperation. So there was a lot about this aspect of equal and putting into practical form the love. So the subject we'd like to start is this subject of Vaksaman. So I'm going to welcome in Shaylin first to share, and also then Brother Prashant, and we'll have a conversation. So good evening, Shaylin. I think it's a little late there for you, so great that you could create time.
Thanks, Sarabhan. Om Shanti, good evening. Prashantbhai, great to see you there. First of all, Mary Ben, thank you for this unique invitation. Great to see you and the Chicago family. I bought my membership to be part of the Chicago Center a couple of months ago, so I am now part of that center too. And so I got this opportunity. Thank you for having this thought. And today we're having a conversation that Prashantbhai and I have never done in the UK. And Chicago. So Chicago is the instrument for this. Firstly, let me wish all of you a happy Independence Day. So I know today is a special day for everyone in America, and it's a real privilege to spend today with you. Look, all those hundreds of years ago, they made all that effort to declare independence from Britain. And what have you got today? Two brothers from the UK talking to you. You achieved no independence. So thank you. Good to be here. Prashantbhai, did you want to begin? Did you want to share anything first?
No, let us hear from you. They are a little bit tired of hearing me.
No, I think everyone's here to listen to you. So when I met Baba first, Prashantbhai, I think my first memory of you, I think I was about 8 years old. We went to Cardiff together back in 1986. And then I hadn't gone to Madhuban at that time. I went to Madhuban 2 years after that in 1988. I think we were in Cardiff. That would have been very, very early days of the center there in Cardiff. And I can remember hearing some of your experiences of Madhuban and meeting Baba at that time. And when I met Baba, I got the chance to meet him 5 times in my trip there, and twice with personal blessings. And the second time that Baba spoke to me, he said something that Daddy Janki used to say a lot of times to me, that he said I was a yogi soul. So that was, Baba was meeting a group of the children's class at that time, and it was very, very busy that evening. So he's speaking to everyone just very short, giving the Toli And so he gave me that blessing of the yogi soul. And Daddy used to also say that. So when a few years later, when I had begun making my efforts, at that time, I didn't really have self-esteem. I think for most of us, especially if we're younger and we're beginning our Brahmin journey, we're finding ourselves. We don't really have self-esteem. Even those that are older, the self-esteem we have is based on external physical criteria and our old sanskars. It's not really the type of self-esteem that Baba mentions. So I found it very useful in those days to locate any point in the Murali that was giving me a new sense of identity. I'm sure you'll all recall that when you were 15, 16 years old, you're very much influenced by your friends. It's very difficult to be different. And so I was that age when I thought, I am going to be different. I'm going to wake up for the Amrit Vela. I'm going to go to class. I'm going to be different in my nature. And I really needed to build my self-confidence. And Daddy Genki really gave me a lot of love and support, and was affirming to me a lot of positive things in me. But because of this blessing from Baba of being a yogi soul, I then identify, like he was like a magnet, any point that was linked with being a yogi soul. And on my bedroom wall, I would copy down and write out any point that was linked with a yogi or a yogi soul in the Murali, write it on some card and put it on my bedroom wall. So I was always reading these affirmations. And by coincidence, yesterday in the New York class that Sister Mahina does, they were repeating the Murali from 1971 that I had on my wall. And so it came in one of the blessings, is the 13th of March, 1971. And Baba's explaining in that more about this point that Sarah Ben read out, that the yogi soul is able to remove all bondages because of their remembrance of the seed. So what Baba's explaining is the yogi, in Hindi these two words rhyme, yogi and sayogi, the yogi and the cooperative soul. So sayogi is cooperative. And what Baba's explaining is that there's a spiritual law within this drama, that if you love the seed of the tree, then the rest of the tree must cooperate with you. This is a rule within the drama, and this is what Baba is conveying. And he's explaining that the yogi is the one who is putting the water of love onto the seed. And Shiv Baba, the seed, is the one soul connected with all souls. And so because we connect with that seed, we become connected with all souls. And so what the yogi begins to experience is that the drama begins to cooperate. And what Baba is pointing out is when we're body conscious, we're searching in the creation for the cooperation. We're searching for the success in the creation. But we don't have the connection with the creator. And so we might experience something in a limited way, but as we all know, it's mixed and it's temporary. But what Baba wants us to do is to begin to approach things as yogis. So the methodology is different. The methodology of the yogi is not to look through, it's not the bhogi. The bhogi is to look through the sense organs. So we've been bhogis for many births. And our inclination is, what can I say? What can I do? Who can I speak with? So we will use all of these sense organs to gain success and gain cooperation. And our brain has been shaped by us continually doing this. And Baba is challenging us. He's saying that, do you have the faith that actually there's some power greater than your own words, greater than your own thoughts, greater than your own actions, greater than your roles, greater than your resources, greater than your relations and connections? And that energy is Shiv Baba's energy. So as you connect with the seed and you look just to the seed for support, you're making this change. You're challenging your nature that wants to speak and do. And you're saying, I'm not going to do. I'm not going to say anything. I am going to become Manmana Bhav. And by becoming Manmana Bhav, I'm doing things differently to the previous thousands of years. And I'm going to just have this connection with the seed. And what Baba is saying is that that automatically triggers like a wave through the tree. So whereas before it would be a karmic account, I help you, you help me. What Baba's teaching us is, as yogis, you don't want to create any karmic accounts with anyone. And in fact, you want to settle everything and go back home. But we are not sannyasis. So as Raj yogis, Baba challenges us to be able to stay within the gathering, stay within our families, stay within our jobs, stay within service. And he introduces us to a concept that exists in Bhakti, but is understood differently. And that's this concept of karma yoga. And karma yoga means we don't have karma sannyas. So Baba says in the Murli, the sannyasis, they have karma sannyas. And what they mean by that? They let go of their family, they let go of their jobs, they let go of their worldly life. And they become a monk and a nun. And they will call that karma sannyas. And Baba says that's not for you, because you are deities of the family path, the pure family path. So Baba is not looking to create a golden and silver age of monks and nuns, but Baba is looking to create a family, a kingdom. And so he's saying you have to become karma yogis. So the karma means carrying on with all your responsibilities. But the yoga means you're now depending on Shiv Baba. So whereas it was between you and other people, you and other souls, giving and taking, we did all that. It's all these attachments, all these dependencies. Now Shiv Baba is saying that I really have come to fulfill this companionship with you. So do you have the faith that I am enough? Or do you feel you need 0 + 1? And again, those of you that have been listening to the daily podcast for a while, you'll recall that back when I was a child, I was about 12, 13 years old, I'd asked Daddy Janki for 10 easy ways to become part of the 8 jewels in one of her question and answer. It made her chuckle. And then she just went into a moment of silence. And she said, just be a 0 and remember 1. That's your 10. There are not 10 methods to this. These, like Mama, Baba, these 8 jewels, it's their single-mindedness on Baba. That's what gets them there. The 0 means be soul conscious, that come out of your skin, like your many roles, your many manifestations, and just be Shiv Baba's child. And then you're connecting with the seed. This is Aleph, this is Allah, this is the one who is the ocean. So you can't get, he is the one with 1,000 arms. You cannot have anyone who could cooperate more with you. But because our mindset is that more people means more, so sometimes we can have these barriers that Shiv Baba looks like just one. Why don't I attach with many? Surely that's more. But actually what Baba is explaining to us, this is the seed. So to connect with the seed means that you actually get hundreds of thousands of companions that will cooperate with you, but you're getting that connection through the seed. So there's no karmic account that's created. And in the Muralis, Baba refers to one story from the Mahabharata where both Arjun and Duryodhana arrived to seek Krishna's help in the great Mahabharata war, and Duryodhana arrives first. Arjun arrives second. Duryodhana sits near Krishna's head while he's resting, and Arjun stands at his feet. So when Krishna opens his eyes, he sees Arjun first, and he asks Arjun, what do you want? And Duryodhana's not happy at all. He says, I was here first, you should ask me first. So Krishna says, Duryodhana, well, why don't I give you my entire army, and I will just be the charioteer for Arjun. So Duryodhana thinks this is a great deal. He's got a whole army. And all Arjun got was one Krishna. Surely he goes back very happy. And this is the memorial that, we often think more is more, but actually one Shiv Baba is plenty.
I think that links to today's Murli when Baba was saying we are at war, but actually we do not need the army. But it is, we need the father, we need the commander. So thank you so much for summarizing and giving this overview. So we have maybe half an hour for dialogue, and then I know we'll create some time for meditation. So maybe to begin the dialogue, and perhaps we'll hear some thoughts from Prashant, and then feel free to, discuss and interact naturally. But you brought up some really important threads. What it really means is cooperation, and first with the seed and how that then connects to the tree. And beautiful to hear your personal story of the blessing from Baba, of the yogi soul. So maybe let's hear from Prashant, and then you've got about half an hour for the dialogue. So yeah, warm welcome and good afternoon. Prashantbhai.
So nice, as was said, the overview and emphasis, attention that the seed deserves. In any situation, the attraction of people is towards the expansion. Flowers, they are more attractive. Seed is incognito. And seed reality, that is like the huge thing. But we will also like to hear from Sarah, her views connected with the Murli of Sunday. It will be very nice. But one aspect that Baba has been spending last 8 years on this, and that is have vairagya, have disinterest from this expansion. But Baba is not seeing. Knowledge is there, but there is no power, because deep inside within us, the ego is absolute slave to this expansion. Different heads of Ravan are addicts of these different things, and that is where the power comes, and our whole effort. It will be nice to hear from Sarah also on this subject, more connected with the Murli of Sunday.
This was the intriguing area when Baba was saying, don't get impressed with anyone. So back to Shailen's bringing this image of the tree, that if we really see things clearly, we would be most impressed with the Father. But that does require the intellect to grasp the scale of what is happening. And so maybe if Shalin has any thoughts on that and what came in them early. And I'm sure there was some discussion in the gathering you were in, what it means. So would you like to share any thoughts on this aspect?
Well, thank you. I think I shared quite a lot, but Prashantbhai, I was interested always in your experiences with this whole thing of balance, because on one side we have jobs, and I've seen how you have balanced this career, then we have center, we have so many different roles to play, and we must do all of those roles with our heart. So I think one question that can arise sometimes for Brahmins is, one side we want disinterest, but we also want to do everything with our heart. So what is your experience with being able to do both?
Yes. This area of disinterest, the huge jump that is required the very first day is to, even for a short time, for the soul to become conscious. And many times we may take it for granted that soul, we know about soul, of course, there's soul consciousness, but this is like a first step. And what is very, very deceptive, and everyone, I'm talking here of the Brahmins, each and every Brahmin need to be aware of, is ego-based effort. Ego disguises himself as an effort maker. This is not a rare phenomenon. This is like ego has to survive, and ego will take this position in the first second, and it appears all holy, and everything goes on. Ego can chant the Mera Baba even louder than anyone else, and everything happens, but his heart is not in the seed. He can talk about, but heart is not there. Heart will be in the expansion. And this is where the jump that we mentioned earlier. So if the ego-based effort, it will speak about 10 steps for anything, 10 steps. And so much expansion into these steps, but he will not take the last step. Because if you take the last step, then ego dies. And so to do service and to talk about things, write books, and no problem. That is where ego based. But nice aspect, game of a second, jump. Let the soul become conscious, even for a short time. And it is like the angel becoming conscious. And the angel, he understands how absurd it is to be deceived by the story. He's spending so much time in this Harry Potter world, and impressed with things and talking about things. Can be holy, in a holy corner within that. And Baba is saying, no, don't get impressed. But this is like impressed, the biggest area he gets impressed with. Make a guess, I'm asking here. Whom is he most impressed with? The ego? Himself. He is impressed with the role that he is associated with, impressed with, talks about it. Yeah, this is, but it sort of deceives, and this is a big success of Maya and ego, to keep us in that camp. And this taking this jump, and you are understanding, it is like breaking the code. understanding the code. Baba is telling us and have knowledge and giving so much details, but still you need to decode it. It is like breaking the code. You understand what the whole thing is about. And this alaukic dimension, you understand the true family and the father and what it means to be soul conscious. Why become soul conscious? And why, what kind of service we are doing? Why do we want others to become soul conscious? You are understanding the wonderland and that everyone is lucky. Yes, but let us hear from others also, but Sarah also. Your reflections, experiences.
Shailen's question is interesting because in English, disinterest has some feeling that there's some, you sort of looking away and you're repressing possibly, but the dispassion as another translation, or just like you grow out of something, a toy that you loved as a child, and then you get older and you're not pulled. So this has a more clear understanding of the meaning, and so the adult is easily beyond the child's toy. But then the service, as Sharon was saying, and you're involved as an adult. So that it was also nice to have the question to churn on that. And then I suppose Baba was pointing towards the wrong effort, because he said, I give you the same, but the results are different. So this is where whether or not we're making effort and a mixed kind of effort, where we're actually working also for the wrong side without the discrimination. We're actually still invested in the I and the more. It'd be lovely to hear what's coming up for Shailin in this discussion, what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, yes. As you were talking, another distraction came up, someone's car alarm. So I was just thinking as you were both speaking that how there's a journey really, because Baba says there's a battlefield. Ideally, we'd like the ego to just die instantly. But for most of us, we end up with a divine self and a human self. And we have this journey of managing both and getting towards our divine self. My observation is that the karmic accounts of different Brahmins are different. And this is a bit of a generalization, really. But just for simplicity, I'll make the generalization. I think for some Brahmins, there's been an overemphasis on self-confidence. So when they come to Baba, the high self-esteem is overdeveloped. And so like Prashantbhai was saying, there's a tendency to be over-impressed with oneself. And there's a certain egocentrism within the nature of such Brahmins. And I would say that's my journey. So I would say for me, the karmic accounts start there. Then with other Brahmins, my observation is they start off their Brahmin journey with lower self-esteem. So they don't really believe in themselves. They don't really have that confidence. They don't really have that appreciation and self-love. So they're very unimpressed with themselves. And they perhaps want to be someone else. Now, both high self-esteem and low self-esteem, they're both ego. It's not that one is ego and the other one is not ego. Both are ego. And neither are self-respect. So I think what happens is, as I say, I'm generalizing. We probably have a bit of both, but I'm just generalizing. So my observation is that for some Brahmins, more of their journey is of surrendering this overconfidence, this almost like over-loving oneself. And there was one comment that Dedi Janki made. I mean, she said it with a lot of love, not in any way with any criticism. She said it with a lot of love. This was the last time I was at the Global Retreat Center when she was there, maybe 5-6 years ago. And myself and Ranjan Ben, we'd taken one guest there to meet Dedi, and it was in the class. And Dedi said that, yeah, these two, they're just like instrument. They're always making each other move forward, Ranjan Ben and me. And she said that for Ranjan Ben, it's my Baba. And for Shailen, it's who am I? Now, she was saying it in a positive way. It's as a speciality. But over the years, I've really churned and looked at this. And she's also pointing out the weakness within that love, because what she's rightly saying is that my foundation for getting forward has been self-confidence. And over the years, I'm developing more and more trust in Baba. It's more and more, there's certain relationships we have to have with Baba where we got to be the small person. We got to let go and let Baba be the big person and trust. And for some Brahmins, that's really difficult because they're used to being the leader. They're used to being the controller. They're used to being the responsible person. So those sanskars come into our relationship with Baba. And then there are other Brahmins where they're, like with Ranjan Ben, she was saying, my Baba. So for Ranjan Ben, trusting herself, having confidence in herself, that's more of the journey, liking herself. Loving herself, loving Baba, trusting Baba, that's very natural. So why Baba says have all relationships with me is because I think that's what destroys the ego. And in this journey where we've got our human self and our divine self, I mentioned I had 2 meetings with Baba in that first journey, and the first one, one sister had given me this white robotic hand, because in those days you could give gifts directly to Baba. And actually Baba had stayed the whole night. So it was about 6:30, 7 o'clock the next morning. And the announcement went up that no one can come and give their gift to Baba. You just have to walk across the front of the stage at Om Shanti Baba and put it there. So this sister had given me a big red apple and a white robotic hand that delivered, like when you put the apple on the palm, it delivers, it moves and delivers the apple. So I put that at the front of the stage and I was walking away. But Baba called our microphone back and called me onto the stage. So Sister Mohini, who lived in Madhuban, she came over. I was quite scared. I was young, so I was quite scared what I was doing. But she came and called me on the stage because I thought Baba just wanted the robot, and I went back to my seat. And she came over, and then they put it onto Baba's bhog table, and all the daddies were laughing, looking at this. And what Baba said was that this apple is like your heart, is it not? Just as this apple makes this robot move, your heart, which is overflowing with love for the Father, makes you move, doesn't it? So I just said yes and went. And then as a child, you don't appreciate these things. But over the years, what is it that conquers the ego ultimately? I think it's our love for Baba. So ultimately, the surrender is because our love for Baba overwhelms even the ego. It overwhelms even the vices within us. And I think that's how we manage this divine self and this ego and this human self. And we continue to give the emphasis to that love for Baba above everything else. Prashantbhai, did you want to come in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, nice to hear. One aspect, in the Sunday Murli that intrigued me. Madhuban is not your destination. Your destination is the angelic stage. symbolically, Baba says, you have reached Madhuban, but do not see that is the end. And there is another train that needs to be taken after reaching Madhuban. And we're saying in this train, one has to drop all the luggage. To reach Madhuban, you may take many things. You take shawls and but this next train, you have to let go, and just the point remains. And Baba is emphasizing in this. And here to drop the subtle and gross, all your attachments, but the ego remains, becomes zero. That is the destination. Otherwise, Madhuban, one can, it is still at that same level. We are still in that expansion. Symbolically, Baba is using the word Madhuban. And yeah, it will be nice to hear some thoughts on this area.
This accumulation of love from the heart is the energy that's needed, isn't it, to get on that train. And I was sharing in class that I was reminded of in Lisbon. I don't know if others on this call have been to Portugal, and in Lisbon there's the old tram, and if you want to continue on to the next stop at the central station stop, you have to wait while the conductor disconnects from one circuit and physically lifts the wire connection to the next circuit. So it's old-fashioned, but it reminded me of this. So you've got the train that takes you to Abu, or metaphorically, the destination, whether it's a BK center or the community. But to get onto the next Brahmin angel, it's a different, we need a different wiring, so that fuel also for that is different. And so paying attention to the mind, and that we're having the right thoughts and feelings, that we're not entertaining the energy of ego, which is destroying the subtlety and the perception, to grasp Baba's vision and his thoughts and his experience. So I was enjoying this angle that we need all relationships, we need to invest completely, but also through that contrast we need to observe and detect the subtlety of this commission the ego is taking. Even from a good Murley point, ego can come subsequently and say you're so clever, or as Shailin was saying, the opposite also. Nobody commented on my nice Murley point. When the self-esteem goes, that's also ego. So this necessary creation of contrast, so we can really perceive we're gaining in the right energy, the right fuel to take that train, the angelic destination. So what's coming up for Shailin in this? Anything that comments on this area?
Thank you. My interpretation was that Baba was affirming what your love for Baba can achieve, because to go to places like Madhuban is not easy. And my recollection was that this was the group coming from South India, and they had traveled a long way. And as we know, Baba's children travel a long way. Like just going to America, you realize how far India is when you're in America. And of course, South America must be even more. And yet Baba's children get there. And I interpreted it that Baba was saying that look what you can achieve because of your love for Baba in this world. Look at all the programs that Baba's children have done. Do you all remember the mega programs? Is it 90,000 people, 100,000 people? At that time, they were building Gyan Sarovar, then Shantivan, and so many other things. So look what Baba's children can achieve in this world. Now, can you use that same love, that same commitment, that same determination to now go up and make yourself into an angel? Because if you can do all these things down here, surely you can take yourself into the angelic one.
It's beautiful. And so he's kind of giving you encouragement as a bridge. Yeah, I like that. I'm wondering if anyone on the call would like to, share some, maybe in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, perhaps you have some question or thought on the subjects discussed so far.
One aspect I would like to, just add to this part. But please, the encouragement for the participation, raise your hands. And that is, it's a new start. Everyone repeatedly need to do this. It's a new start, and new start with the new eye even. This is like we were saying, Maya will trick you to stay at a certain level. And ego will trick you, it will adapt. And that's why a new eye, you start fresh, clean, awake, alaukic, and independent, separate from the role. Not many things happening in the drama, but that is separate. And that it is like not polluted by the drama. Prashant is part of this drama story, and the soul is independent. To see it clean, and that is like a huge, contribution to the Baba's task also, but personal progress also. Just to get the quality right, then quantity will follow. We want to be soul conscious, we want to create hours in this practice, but getting the quality, that is like a big success for us. Even in the, say, business world, many companies, there are photocopiers, there are many companies that can create, all these gadgets. But companies that create quality, even though they are expensive, people want to buy everywhere, all over the world. They want to buy if there is a quality product. So also here, it is immensely sensible for someone to say this is not a small thing, but Baba is repeating some of these things every day. Become soul conscious, remember Baba. Repeating so many times every day. There are reasons why Baba is repeating, because if it is mixed, we are not taking that jump. And for us to see that soul without any luggage, without any flavors from the story, from the role, clean, the detached observer, really the detached observer of the whole thing. Most important, the role. We are saying here, Prashant is part of that story. And the soul is as if it's become conscious, observing it from beyond. this is the jump, and this is that clean start. It is slippery, you will lose it, but come back to it. And then you will find it is connected to the world of God and world with God. That the invisible soul is from that God's family. Yeah, it will be nice to hear from others.
I think what you're saying connects to what Shaina was saying about self-respect, because by virtue of detachment, the soul can accept the titles, but if there's a little ego, there's a voice inside which will never really feel that is a reality. So this clean start, fresh slate, feels very uplifting. There's an objective recognition, and yeah, I think it connects to the blessing, this detached observer, impartial, implied, neutral, and objective. It would be great to hear how Shailen is tying in some of these ideas and your thoughts on this independence, attachment, as if a clean start. Is that something that you're experimenting with or you resonate with?
Thank you. I appreciated the reminder about this newness, because we had these Murlis around the new year where Baba takes up this theme of the new year for you children is the new age, and he always connects it with enthusiasm, which is one of our underrated qualities as a Brahmin. But enthusiasm washes away many things. Enthusiasm actually enables many things. So enthusiasm is a very powerful quality, as well as hope. So Baba says you need both the hope and the enthusiasm, but it is new, this consciousness of newness, that you're giving yourself permission that today I can have a fresh start. And you're giving everyone else the permission. Today is a fresh start for them too. And you might remember we had this blessing last week, that consider yourself to be an incarnation. And it's a very powerful practice, this one, that like today, for example, we can go to sleep and we can say, right, I'm going up to the soul world to be with Baba. And then when we wake up in the next day, we can just have that thought, I've come down from the soul world, but just for today. I'm not staying till tomorrow. I'm just here today. And just think that if you only had 12 hours in this world, how would you use them? What would you do? And what would you think about? What would your consciousness be? So this concept, I appreciated that reminder that today let me be new. As an incarnation, I don't have a past. I don't have a future. I just have now. And let now be new.
There's no history in a story, so you are playing the part. And there may be a sequence of events with the character, but you wouldn't say that's your story or history. So very beautiful to get into those insights of that consciousness. And that is the Bapsaman, isn't it? That the subject which we kind of chose as a thread, to be in this world like the Father, for the Father's task, as he comes. And every moment is new, isn't it? In a sense, because soul is conscious. Yes, this brings the feeling of everything being fresh. Perhaps it's that no baggage. That's the only thing which creates feeling of old feelings. That baggage that Prashant was alluding to as well. So, Prashant, would you like to add some final thoughts after that? If Shailin would like to perhaps guide some reflective commentary, but let's come to Prashant.
Sure. I was going to ask Shailin, Baba is talking about this, what you mentioned also, there is a seed and there is the expansion. There is a sadhana, the tapasya, other side, sadhan facilities. And there is intense attention, and there is other side is slackness. Baba was implying that we are using the word easy and light in a wrong way. There is a sort of interest towards comfort and party, and less towards the serious side, and essence is hidden in the midst of this sadhan expansion. What is your observation, and what can we do at a personal level? What should Brahmins do? There is a larger family, because we are saying Maya will come to trick us, but is there some, have you reflected on this for the self and for the larger family?
I'll share a few thoughts and then I'd like to hear your thoughts. So, two words are very, very important for us to continually remind ourselves. One is natural and the other is normal. And my interpretation of what Baba was saying was that we as Brahmins, we normalize different forms of carelessness and laziness. And then that becomes natural for us. Now, truly what is natural to us is to remember Shri Baba and to be soul conscious, to be pure, to be sweet, to be peaceful. These things are actually natural. So Baba says in many Muralis that don't call these my sanskars, like these are Ravan sanskars, or these are acquired sanskars. They're not your natural sanskars. But Brahmins will say, well, this is my sanskar. And with this language of my sanskar, well, Baba, don't worry, this is just my nature. He talks and he says, this is how Brahmins will talk to him. And he points this out to us because there is a connection between the language we're using and the attitudes we have. And so we as Brahmins need to look at ourselves. What have I normalized? You were mentioning just now about quantity of remembrance, and what we hear from Baba all the time is constant remembrance. It was in this Sunday's Murali, it was in today's Murali, and Baba is always emphasizing. But my guess is, now it's wrong for me to judge other Brahmins and speak for other Brahmins, but my guess would be that probably 95% of Brahmins don't believe they can have constant remembrance. They don't really believe it. They might believe that one day they will have constant remembrance, but that they could have it today, I don't think they even believe that. So what happens is, if we think that this will be a process, it becomes a process. Because I've then normalized that I can't do it. The slippery practice is the vision of soul consciousness. And for a lot of us, we can practice soul consciousness very well for 2 days. And then the third day, it's difficult, it slipped away. So then the fourth day, it feels a struggle. So then we just let it go. We say, I'll just remember Shri Baba in the Sangha. And so then what's happened is I've normalized body conscious vision. So I think this is where Baba is coming from. He's saying, children, what have you normalized, which is then also deceiving you? What do you think, Brandon?
It's fascinating. This is big area for us to see what are the different areas we have normalized, we have sort of accepted and created a programming in ourselves that we can't do these things, put a limit. And very, very good to just shine light on these areas. And when that is a huge help to the family, actually, once they realize that these are possible, these are for various things Baba expects from us. It is possible to start with, and not just sometimes in future, but now.
Yes, Baba made this comment, I think it was in the previous Sundays morally, that Mama and Baba finished Maya instantly. That there wasn't any Maya, there wasn't a battle with Maya for them. And Lady Janki used to always say they never saw Mama make any effort. And so I think this is the difference between Mama and Baba and us, that they realize that it can be done today. So their attitude was, Shiv Baba's told us to do this in the morning, it has to be done today. And they had the willpower and the determination and the focus. And what, again, it's wrong for me to speak about the Brahmins because it's like waste thought. So, but okay, I'll talk about myself. So what I will tend to do, like I heard these, you and I both heard these Murlis when they first were spoken, like 1995. Now, I am hearing them now, and now I feel I can do them. So, like, it took me time just to understand and to really grasp, and then really be like emotionally ready, mentally ready to do this. But it wasn't that it wasn't possible before, but there was a mindset in change in me that meant that, like Baba said, Jivan Mukti in 1 second, liberation in life in 1 second. Now, it might take me 30 years to have my second, but it still is a second. But for Mama and Baba, that second was today. And the question for us Brahmins that Baba keeps posing to us, how long? Whenever we ask Baba, Baba, when's the date of destruction? Baba always says, children, you tell me, when will you be ready? And if you ask Baba, Baba will say, do it today. And we'll say, no, Baba will just laugh at Baba, because in our head, it's not possible to do today. But in Baba's mind, yes, it is. Because it's just a case of you just switching. It can be done. And Lady Janki, as you know, brother, that she always believed in everyone. Like I never ever heard Lady Janki say to anyone that you can't come in the 8 jewels. But anyway, whenever she said that, everyone just laughs because no one believes that you can do this. And so it goes back to how you started, that we think there's 10 steps to let go of ego, but we don't want to take the final one, which is actually living, actually changing it. And so we'll go all the way until actually changing it, because that then really means it really was possible.
Yes, thank you.
Prashant, would you like to add anything?
I totally agree. And just like taking the steps. And, one area I might say, what Shailin said, in 95, we heard, and in Terry, maybe, I could have said, yes, I can do it. But it is as if we also need to build muscles. Even the Baba may ask us run a marathon. on the first day, you can't run a marathon. Somehow it is, and you need the intellect, and it has to be made sharper, as if to understand the different factors and understand Maya's different cleverness. There are factors, so the big area we somehow cannot. I got a theory about Baba and Mama, like Shiv Baba. I can just share my theory here. Shiv Baba was using the medium of Brahma Baba and also Mama. This is my theory, and it's because of whatever the dynamics, Shiv Baba has to use Mama to reach, sustain this other sister. But Brahma Baba, he also says, that he has to deal with Maya first, and then that's why he can teach others how to conquer Maya. So he understands, sees how things come, and then uses the method. And knowledge also has gradually progressed and refined. Just my manmat in this, within brackets. But personally, I sort of see that over the years, the possibilities are different. Muscles are there to do things. Earlier, those muscles were not there. Grasp was not there. Understanding was a bit, what we're saying, ego-based effort. You are running, I can sort of say, I want to run now. But you could be running in a reverse gear, with ego-based effort. So just those factors also there. But I also agree that we can build muscles quickly. Now there is a understanding and special gyms to build muscles, and then you can fly quickly.
Just like the physical structures are there to make life easier for us as coming as Brahmins, newer, coming now. It feels like the subtle structures are also there, and those souls, and such as yourselves and the ancestor souls, have created structures at physical and subtle level, and it makes it easier. You can feel that things are easier to grasp than perhaps what they were. So yeah, very beautiful. And to switch, isn't it? Shaden said switch, and also the word jump, to see that perspective where it's possible and it's a reality, the way Baba sees it's reality, and we can grasp that. We might lose it, but that's the practice, to work with the muscles to hold that experience, not just as the knowledge or theory, but the feeling of ever ready. It's all, the incarnate is ever ready, but the ego is never ready. So we observe those two things, as Charlene was saying, the human and the divine in the psyche. So really nice. Feels like we could continue, and maybe we'll have to create another time, some session. And big thanks to Mary for having the thought, and for Prashant, and definitely for Charlene for creating time, which is a little late in the UK. So it'd be lovely if Charlene would like to share any final reflections, and maybe just a few thoughts to leave us for some yoga reflection.
Thank you. Yes, just echoing what you said. Thank you, Mary Ben. Thank you, Prashantbhai. Thank you all for being here. So energized us. Yeah, a bit late here. I'm at a work conference on the seaside of the south of England, place called Bournemouth. But I definitely feel energized by the gathering. So thank you. My final thought would be that sometimes we can feel that all of this change is quite overwhelming because there's so many things to change. But actually, the way it works is you change one thing and many things change together. So the way to do it is not to worry about changing many sanskars, but focus on one power or one virtue and develop that. Just do one thing, one point of knowledge. And they're interconnected. So as you focus on cheerfulness or lightness or any quality, actually many other qualities naturally become part of your nature. So you don't have to change all of yourself. Just change one thing. And then let's finish then with a few moments of meditation together. And we already had the points from Brother Prashant earlier. So let's practice this bodilessness, because ultimately Baba is telling us connect up with the seed. So let's refocus ourselves back onto our center of the forehead, the immortal throne of the soul, and remind ourselves that we are traveling actors and our original home is far away up with Shiv Baba. And as we connect with Shiv Baba, the seed of the tree, we keep one thought in our heart, that Baba, now I have all relationships with you. I have said you are mine. You have said you are mine. I trust that. I know you're reliable. Why should I seek help from anywhere else? That doesn't mean I'm not open to help from everywhere. I need you and I need everyone. But now I'm going to take everyone's cooperation through you. My support is you, even if everyone else cooperates. My reliance is on you, even if everyone else is cooperating. When everyone cooperates, I will think about the bestower of cooperation. So seeing the creation, now I will see the creator helping me through that. And as I connect with the seed, I stretch out the hand of my mind and I hold the seed in the hand of the mind. And as I hold the seed, I feel the energy of the seed come into me and travel through me and through the top of my head. And as I turn my mind up above, I see the huge tree, the family tree of all souls. And as I connect with the seed and the energy of the seed passes through me, it's as if different parts of the tree begin to light up. Suddenly, I am connected with the whole tree. And so I know I'm part of a very large rosary of Rudra. And I now connect with Rudra. And I ask him for everything, and I know he will provide. Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Shanti. Good evening, good night. Have a wonderful rest of the time in Burma, Shailen. To everyone else, wonderful rest of the day. Happy Independence Day for the US. True independence from ego and all the lower consciousness. Om Shanti. See you all again.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Om Shanti, everyone.
Om
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti, Prashantbhai. Om Shanti, Marybeth, everyone. Chicago family. Om Shanti. Thank you, Sarabeth.
Mary wants to say hello.
I think he's gone. I think he just left. Okay, I'll send him a message. Thank you, Prashant. Oops. Thank you, Prashantbhai.
Om Shanti.